Here with us now is California Congressman Adam Schiff. He's the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. So what do you think about this demand from the president yesterday? I hereby demand that they look into this to try to find out if this informant, or what he called a spy for all practical purposes, was authorized to go ahead and establish these contacts with Trump campaign officials.
Well, I think second to the firing of Comey, this is the most direct assault on the independence of the Justice Department, the most direct effort to interfere with its investigation of the Trump campaign. It's deeply disturbing. Obviously, it puts the Justice Department in a very difficult position. Normally, you would expect if the Congress were trying to erode the department's independence or compromise an investigation, that the president would protect the department. And conversely, if the president were trying to do it, the Congress would protect the department. But here we have a weak speaker. We have members of Congress that are only too happy to be complicit with the president and beating down the independence of the Justice Department. And this is a major threat to the rule of law.
Because he said in his tweet yesterday, and I'll read it again, I hereby demand, and will do so officially tomorrow, that the Department of Justice look into whether or not the FBI DOJ infiltrated or surveilled the Trump campaign for political purposes, and if any such demands or requests were made by people within the Obama administration. We now know that the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, has ordered that the Inspector General take a look at this.
Yes, and I think they're trying to figure out how do they skin this cat at the Justice Department. How do they not be, on the one hand, insubordinate to an order of the president, but on the other hand, make sure that they don't erode the independence of the Justice Department. So they've kicked it to the Inspector General. I have to say I am concerned with some of the comments of the Deputy Attorney General suggesting, well, we'll look in to find out whether there's any legitimate concern about a politically embedded spy. They know that's nonsense, and I hate to see them say anything to give it credence.
Tell us why it's nonsense.
Well, because it simply didn't happen. And when you hear reports, as was just related, that there is concern within the White House about this, there's not concern within the White House about this. There is a sense of opportunity. Let's exploit anything, any doubt we can create. This is a defense strategy. Put the government on trial. When the evidence looks increasingly incriminating of your client, in this case the president, put the investigators on trial. And that's all they're trying to do here. And the question is, will the Congress go along with it? And sadly, you have a few members of Congress who are actively helping the president in this, and then the rest, in terms of the governing party, are remaining silent.
Do you have confidence in the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, who's now been charged with looking into this?
Well, he has a good reputation. I have to say, though, I'm concerned with one of the decisions that may have come out of his office already, and that is there was a decision to accelerate the investigation into Andrew McCabe so that he could be fired.
The Deputy Director of the FBI.
Yes, so that he could be fired before his pension vested. Now, there's nothing irregular with his being a part of that broad investigation, but it is very unusual to say of this broad investigation, we're going to pick this one piece, this one individual, and we're going to put it on a fast track so he can be fired before his pension. And the fact that the president was openly calling for him to be fired before he got his pension looks like it had its intended effect. And if that's the case, then the independence of the Inspector General is at risk. And so there are lots of concerns, both in terms of the department, its Inspector General, but more broadly, we see a wholesale assault on the rule of law and the ability of Bob Mueller to get to the truth.
Some have suggested there could be a constitutional crisis as a result of this order from the president. Do you see that?
It's very possible. This president gives every indication that as the evidence mounts against him, he is willing to take more and more dramatic steps to protect himself, to protect his family. Right now, that means ordering an investigation of the investigators. Should Bob Mueller follow the money, should Bob Mueller get too close to what the president thinks would completely compromise him, you could see him firing Mueller or firing Rod Rosenstein. So we may be on that slow-moving path to a Saturday night massacre.
According to all the reports, this confidential source, an American academic in Britain, was instructed to go ahead and establish contacts with 2 or 3 Trump campaign officials to try to find out what they know about Russian interference in the presidential election and hacks of Hillary Clinton emails, DNC emails. Was that appropriate?
I can't comment on any allegations regarding a source or sources. The Department and FBI have said that even discussing that could put people's lives at risk. I can say this, though. I've seen no evidence of a political spy embedded in the Trump campaign. I think that's complete nonsense. And from everything I've seen, and I've seen as much as anyone in the Congress, the FBI acted appropriately. Indeed, if the FBI and the Justice Department did not investigate the credible allegations that it was receiving that a campaign may be compromised by a hostile foreign power, they would have been negligent in the service of this country and protecting our national security.
Is it, at what level would such an operation asking this informant to establish contacts with these Trump campaign advisors, at what level would that need to be authorized by the Department of Justice or the FBI?
Well, I don't know, except, I think we have seen that this investigation that was ongoing beginning in July of the election year was kept at such a high level within the Justice Department and the FBI. It was compartmentalized so that it could be kept secret, that any decisions affecting that would have been made at a very high level. And here's the irony of this attack on the Justice Department and the FBI, this desire by the president and Giuliani and others to paint them as corruptly in the camp of Hillary Clinton. They compartmentalized this so they could keep it secret during the campaign, so that it wouldn't influence the election in any way, and contrast that, of course, with the very open handling of the Clinton email investigation. And you see, if there was a bias that you would make an argument about, it would be a very pro-Trump bias in that one investigation was kept secret, the other wasn't. So on its face, the president's claim is spurious, but nonetheless, it's doing damage to these institutions.
At the swearing in of the new CIA director, Gina Haspel, today over at CIA headquarters in Virginia, the president opened up for all practical purposes. He pointed to the House Intelligence Committee chairman, your chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, and said this.
And a very courageous man. He's courageous. Congressman Devin Nunes. Thank you very much, Devin, for being here. Appreciate it.
You think he's a very courageous man? Because he's demanding documents from the Department of Justice right now in a whole host of areas.
Courageous is certainly not the word that I would use. But look, there are essentially four horsemen for the president in the House of Representatives. There's Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy. There's Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows. And they do the president's dirty work in the Congress. In this case, it is demanding information they have no right to see in an effort to interfere with the Mueller investigation, in an effort to give the president cause to fire people, to feed information to the Trump defense team. And we have a weak speaker who's not willing to stand up to them. And I think when the history of this chapter is written, it will be very critical of how complicit the Congress was.